Part 1. Foundations of the Final Empire and the Emergence of Vin. The novel opens on the ash-covered streets of Luthadel, capital of the Final Empire, establishing a world crushed beneath 1,000 years of oppression. The Lord Ruler, worshipped as the sliver of infinity, rules with absolute power, and ashfalls, mists, and the omnipresent fear of punishment define Ska life. This is not merely political tyranny, it is environmental and metaphysical domination. The Ska are broken, generational slaves whose spirits seem more eroded than their bodies. Nobles live in relative luxury, wielding allomancy, a metallic magic system enabling enhanced physical and mental abilities, while the Ska suffer starvation, cruelty, and hopelessness. Amid this world, crime thrives in the shadows, and it's within one such thieving crew that we find Vin. Vin is a skittish, wary teenager who has survived on the streets by clinging to a single belief. Everyone betrays you eventually. Raised by an abusive brother, Rian, who taught her that trust is a weakness, Vin treats every human interaction as a potential threat. She works for a small criminal crew led by an opportunistic criminal named Cayman, who uses her natural intuition, what Vin calls luck, to manipulate negotiations and keep him alive through risky cons. What Vin doesn't realize is that her luck is actually the subtle use of allomancy, specifically the ability to soothe emotions. It's a talent she uses instinctively, unaware of its true meaning or implications. Meanwhile, far away from Vin's small, desperate world, a much larger plan is unfolding. Kelsier, known as the Survivor of Hathsin, has escaped the pits, the one place no slave was ever meant to survive. His escape transformed him into a mythic figure among hidden Ska rebellions. Kelsier is charismatic, brilliant, and deeply driven by a manic combination of vengeance, vision, and personal trauma. He and his brother Marsh, a grim and serious figure who despises Kelsier's flamboyant tendencies, have long debated how best to fight the Final Empire. Now, Kelsier has a plan, a daring, impossible plan, to overthrow the Lord Ruler himself. Kelsier begins recruiting the best criminals in Luthadel: Breeze the smooth-talking soother, Ham the thug philosopher, Clubs the gruff smoker who hides allomancy from detection, Doxson the logistics expert, and Lestiborns, nicknamed Spook, a young tin-eye with a fractured dialect and an endless need to prove himself. Kelsier's unwavering confidence and the sheer insanity of his plan draw them together despite their doubts. The plan will require allomancers, agents, soldiers, political infiltration, financial destabilization, and eventually, open rebellion. And Kelsier believes that one person, an undiscovered Mistborn, could be the key. Fate brings Kelsier and Vin together when he intercepts Cayman's crew during a Ska burglary. Sensing her power immediately, Kelsier takes Vin from her old life. For Vin, this shift is violent, terrifying, and confusing, but it marks the beginning of her transformation. Kelsier sees in her not just potential, but kinship, the hardened wariness of someone who has survived trauma and exploitation. As the crew takes Vin in, she meets a world she never imagined could exist, one where people joke, banter, and, most shockingly, trust each other. The first part of the novel ends with Vin's initiation into the crew and the revelation of what she truly is, a Mistborn, capable of burning all allomantic metals. As Kelsier begins training her, he tells her something she has probably never heard from anyone. She is valuable. Her life, for the first time, begins to have meaning beyond survival. Part 2. The crew begins. Kelsier's grand scheme and Vin trains as a Mistborn. With Vin fully inducted into Kelsier's crew, the plan to overthrow the final empire takes shape with clear, interconnected objectives. Part of the story follows the crew's high-level planning and political maneuvering, while another part follows Vin's personal evolution as she learns allomancy. The entire undertaking rests on three massive pillars: infiltrating the nobility, raising a Ska army, and destabilizing the Lord Ruler's economy and political structure, all while spreading the myth of Kelsier as a symbol of hope. Vin's training under Kelsier is both exhilarating and terrifying. She learns to burn metals: iron and steel for pushing and pulling on metals, pewter for strength and healing, tin for heightened senses, brass and zinc for influencing emotions, copper for hiding allomancy, bronze for detecting it. This magical system forms the backbone of the story, grounding every combat encounter, infiltration scene, and major turning point. Vin learns fast, faster than Kelsier expected, partly because of her street-honed instincts and partly because she has something to prove. Her distrust, however, lingers. She expects betrayal at every turn, even while Kelsier and the others try to show her that family, chosen, not inherited, can exist. Meanwhile, Doxson lays out the practicalities. They need money, resources, and influence. Breeze and Ham begin working with underground Ska populations, sowing seeds of rebellion. Clubs hides the crew's meetings under his copper cloud, preventing inquisitors from detecting them. Marsh infiltrates the Steel Ministry, the terrifying religious arm of the final empire, to gather intelligence. Another crucial component of the plan requires Vin to go undercover among noble society. Using forged documents and a crafted persona, Vin becomes Valette Renaud, a shy noblewoman ostensibly from the countryside. Her purpose is to attend noble balls, gather information, and exploit political tensions among the noble houses. Here she meets Elend Venture, a nobleman who openly rejects the empire's tyranny and secretly reads forbidden books about government, freedom, and human rights. Elend's idealism and intellectual curiosity stand in stark contrast to the brutality of other nobles, and Vin finds herself drawn to him, though she doesn't understand why. Meanwhile, the rebellion grows in the background. Kelsier becomes a living legend among the Ska, the figure destined to challenge the Lord Ruler. His charisma and theatricality are not just personality traits, they're weapons. He knows the final empire can't be toppled by blades alone. It must be defeated by giving the Ska hope. Yet beneath Kelsier's confidence lies a deep, unresolved grief. His wife Mare died in the pits of Hathsin, and Kelsier's hatred for the Lord Ruler is more than political. It is personal, raw, and all-consuming. The question arises, is Kelsier trying to build a revolution, or simply avenge his wife? This part of the novel also builds tension with the ominous presence of the Steel Inquisitors, monstrous beings with steel spikes through their eyes, servants of the Lord Ruler, and living embodiments of fear. Their connection to allomancy, hemallurgy, and the Terrace people is not yet fully explained, but their danger is undeniable. By the end of Part 2, the crew has made significant progress. The seeds of rebellion have sprouted. Vin has gained confidence and skill as a Mistborn, and the first cracks appear in noble political alliances. But the stakes rise dramatically when Kelsier's past actions, particularly his thefts and provocations, trigger violent reprisals from the Empire, foreshadowing deadly consequences. Part 3. Political intrigue, execution of the heist, plan and rising chaos. This section of the story intertwines the largest and most elaborate threads: political manipulation, intelligence gathering, Ska mobilization, and the tightening noose around the final empire's power structures. Vin's role at noble balls deepens. She gathers information on house rivalries, resource flows, rumored ministry investigations, and the strengths and weaknesses of noble armies. She attends balls at Houses Venture, Hastings, Lacalle, and others, slowly piecing together the political landscape. Elend continues to challenge her understanding of nobility and her assumptions about herself by showing that compassion and ideals can exist even in the heart of privilege. Yet Vin's double life becomes increasingly dangerous. She must maintain her noble disguise while avoiding detection by inquisitors who prowl the city. Her allomantic bronze allows her to sense pulses of allomancy in the night, reminding her that the ministry is always watching. Meanwhile, Kelsier executes daring assaults on noble strongholds, attacks meant to disrupt the Empire's control and bolster Ska confidence. His methods grow more extreme, which deeply troubles Marsh and causes tension within the crew. Marsh worries Kelsier is becoming reckless, driven by vengeance rather than strategy. But Kelsier believes, or convinces himself, that every risk is necessary. The Ska rebellion gains momentum. Underground cells form, cities whisper of revolt, and Kelsier's legend spreads like wildfire. He becomes the survivor, a martyr before he's even dead, and that, as Dockson warns, is dangerous. Simultaneously, Sazed, the gentle terraceman keeper, emerges as one of Vin's most important anchors. His knowledge of religion's past, forbidden by the final empire, provides context and philosophical depth to the world's spiritual decay. His friendship with Vin expands her emotional horizons, teaching her that not all kindness hides betrayal. As the rebellion surges, the Lord Ruler responds with brutal efficiency. Inquisitors hunt leaders, noble houses deploy armies, and rumors of obligators gathering intelligence hint at escalating repression. Unrest grows within noble ranks too, as fear of rebellion causes fractures. Vin becomes more confident in her Mistborn identity, but also more emotionally vulnerable. Her connection with Elend deepens, complicating her infiltration mission. Her loyalty to Kelsier's crew battles her feelings for someone who stands on the opposite side of the rebellion, even if he secretly despises the Empire. Part 3 reaches its turning point when Vin uncovers troubling secrets about the Steel Ministry and the Terrace breeding programs. She begins to suspect the depth of the Lord Ruler's power is tied to ancient magics, feruchemy and allomancy, and that Marsh's infiltration of the ministry has put him in mortal danger. The pieces for the final confrontation are in place, but the Empire is preparing its own countermoves. The stage is set for catastrophe. Part 4, Kelsier's Gambit, Tragedy, and the Fall of the Final Empire. Part 4 marks the breaking point, where Kelsier's grand plan intersects with devastating sacrifice. Everything accelerates rapidly here, as multiple storylines collide. Vin's identity is compromised when she attempts a dangerous infiltration of Credit Shaw, the Lord Ruler's palace. She barely escapes an inquisitor, but not without injury. Her near capture shakes the crew's confidence, and the danger escalates when Marsh disappears. Kelsier remains steady, or pretends to be, pushing the rebellion forward. Tension with noble houses reaches a peak as house war breaks out in Luthadel. Houses Hastings, Venture, and others clash violently, destabilizing the Empire from within. The chaos benefits the Ska, but civilians suffer massive casualties. The Ska rebellion erupts openly when Kelsier stages an assault on a garrison, rescuing hundreds of prisoners. His boldness becomes legend. Yet Kelsier knows the rebellion needs more than violent victories. It needs a symbol strong enough to survive even if he falls. This is where Kelsier's true plan emerges. Kelsier launches an attack on the Lord Ruler's army in the square. The fight is brutal, cinematic, and heartbreaking. Kelsier battles an inquisitor to save the Ska. He kills the monster, a feat thought impossible, but the Lord Ruler himself appears. With chilling ease, the Lord Ruler kills Kelsier in front of thousands. This is the emotional center of the book. The moment the rebellion faces either collapse or transformation, and Kelsier planned for this. His death becomes the spark that ignites a full-scale revolt. Ska flood the streets, terrified but emboldened. The survivor becomes a martyr, exactly what Kelsier intended. His final sacrifice unites the oppressed in a way no living leader could. Vin, devastated by Kelsier's death and enraged at the Lord Ruler's cruelty, decides to continue the plan. But her next move is even more dangerous. She turns her attention to the secrets hidden in Credit Shaw. Part 5, Vin's Ascension, the Death of the Lord Ruler, and Epilogue. The final part brings all major threads together in a dramatic confrontation. Vin infiltrates Credit Shaw again, this time with greater determination and mastery. She discovers the truth about the Inquisitors, hemalurgic constructs, created through brutal and ancient magic. She also finally locates Marsh, horrifyingly transformed into an Inquisitor himself, forcibly spiked by the Ministry. Though altered, Marsh retains pieces of his mind and rebel allegiance, and he quietly aids Vin at a critical moment. The climactic confrontation occurs in the throne room. Vin faces the Lord Ruler, who reveals shocking truths. He is both an allomancer and a feruchemist, making him effectively immortal. For a moment, he overpowers Vin completely, but then Sazed arrives, using his feruchemical knowledge to protect Vin and weaken the Lord Ruler's defenses. With a brilliant application of both her training and instinct, Vin uses the metal bracers embedded in the Lord Ruler's arms, the source of his prolonged youth, against him. By ripping them off with a pull, she strips him of his power, rendering him mortal. In a final symbolic act, Vin kills the Lord Ruler, ending a 1,000-year empire. Chaos erupts across the city as noble houses collapse, Ska armies surge, and leadership vacuums form everywhere. Elend Venture, guided by his political ideals, steps forward with a new vision for governance. Using his influence, charisma, and principles, he begins forming a new government founded on cooperation rather than tyranny. The epilogue closes with the crew mourning Kelsier, but recognizing the world he died to create. Vin, now more confident in herself and her newfound role, stands beside Elend, a Mistborn and a leader, poised to face the greater threats hinted in the Lord Ruler's dying words. The final empire falls, but the deeper mysteries of the world, the nature of allomancy, the Terrace prophecies, the origins of the Lord Ruler's power, and the future of the mists, remain unsolved, setting the stage for the events of the Well of Ascension.
Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos.